So, with the ideals I had in my mind of what the idea of myself, my self image, that I had prior to all these changes is what gave me stability because they gave me goals. And those goals determined my behavior and my values, how to evaluate things. And when I lost them all, I went to a deeper set of values, came in contact with a deeper set of values. And being that everything else was cleared away, I was able to search very deeply into what these values meant to me and how others interpreted the values to them. And I was attracted to people who had values that seemed to come from a same depth level, a similar depth level as where I was coming from. And one of the first things I realized is that many of them did not suffer the shock and awe that I did in relinquishing the old and embracing the new. So I also had to add that into my interpretation that these people that were sharing depth level experiences equivalent to my own did not necessarily experience the dark night of the soul that I had. Though I'm sure they did in a similar fashion, in their own way, in some instant. Something, brought them to that depth level. Or maybe they were just born there. I don't know. But I had to add that into my interpretation that, the observer affects the observed. We interpret. We're the interpreter. I'm observing these people and I'm interpreting them through my own experience, so I have to be careful not to take everything as divine revelation kind of thing. So these many topics, I think, that I listed in the previous clip would be good for anyone to try to wrap their mind around and bring their heart along with them, obviously. But it helped elaborate, even though I haven't gone in depth into the topics. I haven't read the topics totally of the Buddhist emptiness and that kind of thing on Wikipedia. I've read some other stuff, and I've met a few Tibetan Buddhist monks, so I have a good object lesson there as to what's their posture and stance, the attitude they take with life, to give a better objective observation of just what it means to them as a human being to strive towards this conception, this well-developed conception they have been trained in that's called emptiness. And I find it related to how our identity changes all the time dependent on what we identify ourselves with. And what we identify ourselves with has to do with our goals. And I think they're going to a deeper level of a goal. Their goal is to lessen suffering. And yet, there's this concept of things not having inherent existence. And if things don't have inherent existence, then even suffering doesn't exist. And I was thinking of this because I did read the article. Which one was it? It was... Gosh, there's a lot of them. It wasn't emergent. Oh, eliminative materialism. Yeah, I was talking about that. I was reading that, and they were talking about how mental states don't really exist, and that even pain doesn't exist. It's actually a biochemical situation in the mind, a mental state, which, since mental states don't... Anyway, it triggered my thinking that, because I've had some experience with pain, and I realized the only way to get through my pain is to enjoy myself. That I had this realization because I was having a difficult time with workers' comp paying for my hands-on therapy. They stopped paying for hands-on therapy, but they would give me all kinds of pain pills. And then I thought about it, and I said, well, it's clinically proven that if you can only manage your pain through medication, your life is shortened. It's proven that if you have to take pills, the pills will shorten your life, kind of thing. And for me, the realization was another authority that was only out for its own ego-centered self-aggrandizement, its own personal profit at another person's expense. And being that I had lifetime medical awarded to me, they could pop me full of pills and shorten my life, and then their lifetime medical costs will be decreased. It was a very difficult thing for me to admit. It was very truthful in my experience. And I try to share this with them, and they just get defensive, and then it becomes a dick measuring contest, and they want to compete with me, try and prove me right or prove me wrong, when the fact of the matter is, I don't want to take pills because I get better results with hands-on therapy. Massage, pool therapy, physical therapy, chiropractic. But I looked at that as well, and I said, well, what's the difference between hands-on therapy and pill therapy? And I realized, well, pills are made by pharmaceutical companies, which are on the stock market. And they can invest in pill companies, pill manufacturers, and then only cover pills, and they're bolstering their own returns. Ego-centered self-aggrandizement. Capitalism. Profiting at another person's expense. And it works fine as long as everybody joyfully participates in the system. They say, hey, I'm willing to pay to get a return, that kind of thing. It is what it is. It's just another system in a long line of systems which will continue to produce more systems. Which is fine. I accept it. I garner boons myself from a capitalistic endeavor. I just feel that it is, as a human being, to be accountable and responsible, we are to bring our spirit that informs the systems. The systems are not to inform us. We are to inform the systems. But having to do with this pain, I realized that once again the systems failed me, and basically that failure was profiting at my expense, so I just happen to be on the wrong side of the coin, that's all. Materialists will just say, well, either you have it or you don't, and that's that. And I came to realize between the haves and the have-nots, since the whole world is ours, and private property really doesn't have inherent existence because it's in relationship to everybody. It's not in relationship to one person. That as far as my pain goes, I had to realize that if I enjoyed myself, if I did something that I enjoyed, then I can tolerate the pain. I had a little saying, a little aphorism: do what you love, and it becomes a labor of love. And in that moment, you can tolerate the pain. But I wanted to do more than just tolerate it. I wanted to thrive. I wanted to feel that vitality and that vigor. And I realized that I had to choose my battles. And this idea of identity, having existence, and this idea of inherent existence really not existing, there's this dichotomy. Two things that seem not to work together but are integral with each other. And it has to do with this object lesson, the subject-object, the self and other. It's a very productive way to learn and to grow. So, by relating to that which we are not, we become that which we are. It's really interesting.